Happy Sunday, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Yes, I'm not muted. I hope you've had an amazing week. I hope you have had an amazing day. If you are in an area like I am, your area may be potentially in a custody battle between spring and winter. The seasons have not, hey, mama, the seasons have not decided who has custody. So, in my part of the world, in Huntsville, it's a custody battle between spring and winter. The other day, I thought spring was going to pull it through, but right now they got KO'd and they're on the mat. So right now, winter is pulling out. So I'm hoping that I'm not hoping, I'm believing mhm, that spring can pull it out because right now this is a hard custody battle between the seasons. Um, which is weird because normally by May it seems like things taper off and we are more into the spring season. But right now, that's okay. Just don't put away your coats just yet. And as my grandmother always said, make sure that you're still wearing your undershirt. For those that are just for those that are just joining, my name is Beverly Johnson, your weekly host at the Fit and Fierce segment, hosted by Swagger Magazine. I am located in Huntsville, Alabama, which is in the northern part of the state. For those that don't know, Huntsville has been voted as the number one place to live in the country. And with that being said, we're full. Mhm. We're full. Yes, we are. We are an anomaly of the state because it's a college town, it's military town, it's government. It's a lot of things going on at one time, and I love it. So today's topic surrounds craving salt. And I don't know if you've ever been in a space where out of nowhere it feels like you just want some chips. It feels like you just want some pretzels. Just out of nowhere, it just seems like you were okay. And then boom, you want something salty. And if you are craving salt, chances are it is very normal. We all crave salt. I know a lot of times when I want something salty, my go-to chip is the salt and vinegar. I don't know why. It's something about the salt and vinegar that just touches my soul. So none of us are exempt for having salt craving. However, did you know our body really does not require a lot of salt? The American Heart Association says that we actually need no more than 500 milligrams, which is a teeny tiny little bit of salt. However, on average, we consume up to 3,400 milligrams of salt a day. And a lot of times when we go through and we say we want to cut salt, we don't want salt, we're going to figure out ways to eliminate it from our diet. Just like sugar, it is virtually impossible because so many foods that you wouldn't even think about have salt. So because of that, it's incumbent upon us to figure out what is very salty and what isn't. A lot of times, you know, automatically there are certain things that are just by default salty, like the salty chips. Or if you're one of those people that has the habit of before you even eat, if this is you, I'm not picking on you, but I know people that before they even eat, they have the first bite, they put salt on their food. Didn't get that. I'm not. Try again. I'm not talking to you, Siri. Before they have the first bite, um, they put salt on their food. And if that is you, again, not picking on you, but it also speaks to sometimes because we're so accustomed to having salt. That's just what we do by default. And sometimes you may be trying to figure out why is it that I'm craving salt? What is it that I want? What is it that's driving this? And believe it or not, the first one of the first reasons is dehydration. Yes, dehydration. Because sodium is one of the minerals that our body needs. And so we don't always think about being dehydrated associated with having something salty, but it is. It says these minerals, because I have my notes on this side, so I'm reading, make sure we have the facts on facts. Minerals, also called electrolytes, can become unbalanced if you experience symptoms such as fever or excessive sweating. When you become dehydrated, the sodium in your blood rises too high. But in other times, your sodium levels may also get too low with dehydration, called hypotonic dehydration. So we talked about once before that another sign of dehydration is food craving. So this ties right in line with if you're a lot of times if you're like all of a sudden you want to eat something. And now you're realizing that if the eating is going in right in line with um, something salty, it's a good chance that you are dehydrated. If you are dehydrated and only replenish your body's water content, but not the sodium, you can get hypotonic dehydration. But I'm put an asterisk right there. But that is something in extreme cases. A lot of times, if you've been an athlete or you've been a runner, even non-athlete, let me just take that off the table. If you've been active, you may have noticed that sometimes if you're not feeling well, somebody will give you a, it just escaped my mind, Gatorade. Someone may give you a Gatorade because it has the electrolytes to get you back in the game. I get you back feeling better. I had a coworker who used to play football, and he said when they needed to be replenished, their coach would give them pickle juice. I've never tried that, but I can see the fact of it having sodium to keep you going. So one of the first things you may be experiencing while you're craving salt is you're dehydrated. Another one, which is a phase that none of us are immune to, is stress. Now, a lot of times when I say I'm speaking about stress again, I'm using myself as an example. Me is that I have a tendency that when I become super stressed, I can become an emotional eater, which means I'm looking for something to just bring me back down. I'm looking for that thing that just gives me that pop of going, okay, I feel better. I remember watching years ago when Oprah released the movie Beloved, and it didn't have the reception that it had. Said Oprah sat and ate a whole pan of macaroni and cheese, and we're not talking about a little pan. We're talking about the family reunion pan that everybody can participate in. She ate a whole pan of macaroni and cheese. Uh, Uber random fact to assert. One year when I was in college, my grandmother had a friend named Miss Pugh. And Miss Pugh asked me what did I want for Christmas. And I told her I wanted some macaroni and cheese. Now I expected Miss Pugh to make me a little pan because it's just me. Sister Pugh made me a pan that could feed 10 people. And did I share? Absolutely not. Because it was my macaroni and cheese that I asked for. And so I understand that when you are in a stress position, it is normal to want to have an emotional comfort. So if you're in a space where you're finding yourself craving salty foods, stress eating may be one of the culprits. Stress, as I read my notes, stress eating has everything to do with hormone levels. When your body is under stress, it releases cortisol and other hormones. Studies have linked too much cortisol with food craving. And the reason I want to break it down this way today is that I want you to understand there are times that you may be making choices and you're not even aware of why you're making that choice. You may feel like you're on autopilot. It may seem like it's just your body just goes on automatic, and it seems like you're just going in through the motions. So I want to break down what are some reasons why you may be going through it. And so then once you recognize what the underlying thing may be, then you can handle it. Today, during our church service, as Dr. Daniel said, so many times we attack the secondary problem that we don't try to figure out what the primary problem may be. So you're trying to address why am I craving these things without figuring out, okay, well, what's the primary driver that's leading to that? And when we figure out what the primary thing is, then you can heal all the other stuff. So if you're experiencing this, sometimes you have to ask yourself, why am I craving salt and vinegar chips? I didn't want them before. Why am I craving certain things? What's going on with me? And then when you start peeling back those layers, you can start seeing that, okay, it's some other stuff that I need to address. A lot of times in the therapy realm, they call it shadow work, where you see the thing looming, but sometimes it takes a lot of courage to do this. So, stress eating. Another one that may be leading to why you're craving salty food is lack of sleep. Mhm. Just as sometimes you can crave sweets when you're exhausted, you can also crave salt. Now, I realize that when I start having salt cravings, it is normally because I'm exhausted and I haven't slept well. Um, some of the hormones that's impacted cortisol. When you don't sleep well, your cortisol levels increase. Leptin. Leptin tells your brain to stop eating when you're full. Yes. Hey, Turk. Hey, girl. Hey. Leptin. When you're full, your brain says, "Okay, I'm full. Stop eating." However, when you're operating on zero, that hormone is suppressed. Serotonin, known as the feel-good hormone. Me and hormone have never been friends. Known as the feel-good hormone, brain serotonin levels drop without adequate rest. As a result, you may be looking for outside sources, such as a bag of chips, like salt and vinegar, to make you feel good. So a lot of times, again, it's not always you. It is the circumstances that's going on around you. The lack of sleep, the dehydration, the frustration, being in a stressful job position, having a lot going on at home. So sometimes our bodies and circumstances can create a pressure cooker situation and lead to things that are causing you to make food choices, make other choices that you would normally not make under healthier situations. Because I have learned from my own experiences, a healthier Beverly produces healthier choices. And when I say healthier, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, occupationally, when I'm emotionally healthy around across the board, my choices are different and I show up different. So when you're coming from a position of surviving and then transitioning to a position of thriving, your decisions will look different. And so my goal is, as always, to take us from a position of surviving, which is doing what we got to do to get by, to thriving, to I have choices, I have options, and I don't have to always pick what's being presented to me. So when we are in a healthier place, you can understand why lack of sleep impacts you. Because I have friends that try to tell me that they can survive off of 2 or 3 hours of sleep. I don't know how, because if I don't get my at least six, I'm on a tangent. And if I get 3 or 4, I may have to call out of work the next day because I am not functioning properly. And when I don't have my adequate amount of rest, I intentionally avoid making certain decisions. Just not because I know I am not at my optimal level. Another option, situation that causes salty foods. Ladies, we all know when we are premenstrual because it's hormone change. And as a result, we all know we tend to crave more sweet or salty foods during those times. And it's okay. Number 4, which I know is going to sound counterintuitive, and do not put in the comments, this is why I don't do it. Exercise. The more you exercise, the more you sweat. Too much sweating reduces the sodium levels in your body. And do not use that as a reason not to exercise. I feel somebody going to see, I told y'all exercise was bad for me. This is why I don't do it. Don't do that. That is not a good reason. But I want you to be aware that as you exercise, you are supposed to sweat. It's okay. You're supposed to sweat. And so when I run into people that tell me that they don't, Turk, I felt it in my spirit that somebody's going to say, that's why I don't exercise because it ain't good for me. When I run into people that say they don't always sweat, my immediate concern is, are you fully hydrated? Do you drink enough water? I don't have my water bottle because I know people that will tell me they will drink this much water to take medicine and argue with me that they're hydrated. because again, when you're not hydrated, it creates other problems. And the last one, before we go into ways to combat it, is good old boredom. And if over the last few years you have been in a situation of being hybrid work from home, or you're 100% work from home, or you just emotions have been all over the place, boredom is one of the top reasons why we crave salty food. Because sometimes you're just doing stuff to pass the time away. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to Bridgerton. If you are one of those that have your seasons that you binge watch the whole season in a day, you know what it's like to go back and forth in the kitchen all day to get something. You had chips, then you had popcorn, then you had chips again, then you had chips with something else, then you had popcorn with something else. And throughout the whole day, you managed to eat a family sized bag of chips by yourself. And again, wasn't intentional. It's just it was cold outside, or at the height of the pandemic, we couldn't really go anywhere. So the only option that we had available for many of us during that time was to go to the grocery store. I think I saw more people at the grocery store, Home Depot, and Lowe's in the last few years than any other place because we were looking for stuff to do. And so we ended up going to the grocery store because no one would judge us. We had to go. And so we were picking up stuff to help calm our anxiety. And so, on top of that, not only were we bored, but salty foods are always convenient. They're usually pre made, and so you don't have to cook. And so, it is 100% easy to satisfy our cravings when all you have to do, and thanks to DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, or whatever delivery system is in your area, Walmart, Publix, Kroger, it made it doubly easy to have our food brought to us. At most, we just had to open the door and pick up our food. That's it. So if you're in a space where you've experienced, to me, what's the perfect storm? You've experienced boredom. You may be at that time where you're experiencing premenstrual problems. You may be experiencing lack of sleep, and then add stress eating. That's a lot to have to deal with in one day, in one week, in one body. And so then if you find yourself craving salty foods, that may be some of the underlying reasons why you may find yourself craving. Now, again, am I telling you not to have a snack every now and then? Absolutely not. Everybody should have a snack. You all know over the years, my tenet has always been I don't believe in restrictive eating. I don't believe in starvation. I don't believe in doing anything that's counterintuitive to you living a full, robust life. So I'm not telling you never to eat chips. I'm not telling you never to enjoy your life. But I want you to be aware of if you find yourself eating more than usual, what's the trigger behind it? If you find yourself not getting adequate rest, and you find yourself eating more and more junk food and chips and sweets, I want you to be aware that that's tied to your lack of sleep, not your lack of control. So for someone who's sitting around telling yourself you don't have willpower, you don't have lack of control, and you're just not succeeding, I want you to look at the roots. Let's talk about that primary, which means you may be dehydrated, you're not resting. You may discover you are a sleep stress eater, emotional eater. You may discover that during that time of the month, it's coming at you. The cravings are intense. Or if it's a Sunday afternoon and the furthest you've been was the front door, it may be strictly out of boredom that you're eating. But I don't want you to ever sit and tell yourself that it's because you can't succeed. And that's furthest from the truth. You can succeed. And we are going to succeed by addressing the root of the problem. We're going to address the primary and not just the secondary. So, how can you combat your salt craving? First, know your limits. The American Heart Association recommends that we get 23 milligrams of salt a day. And that is roughly, I don't want to get up because I don't want y'all to see how bad my pajamas at the bottom. That is roughly a teaspoon of salt. Hmm. Which is probably your nail. Not a lot. I would say both your thumbnails. Put those together. So 23 milligrams of salt. And the problem is salt intake, it doesn't take a lot. So if you're one that always sprinkles salt on your food before you eat, or you always, because I'm in the South, put some hot sauce on your food. Hi, it's me. I love hot sauce. I do. It's in my veins. If you're having fried fish day and light bread and you got to douse, the fish has already been seasoned and it's crunchy, and then you put some hot sauce on it, that's still sodium. That's still sodium. Am I telling you not to put sodium, hot sauce? Absolutely not, because we're in the South, and hot sauce is a staple of our lives. I'll never tell you to do that, but I'm encouraging you to practice moderation. Number three, meal prep. Plan your meals ahead of time, and so this way, yes, big brother, I am, and so are you. You know you from the country, from Texas. Don't play with me, big brother. Don't play. I want my catfish fried hard. That when you break it, it goes. I want to hear the with some white bread, not light bread, white bread, and I want some fries, fried hard, and some Kool Aid. Or if you don't have Kool Aid, ooh, I like that red check soda, please. Mhm. If you don't have Kool Aid, I would like a red check soda or a red Fago. If you know, you know. So you have time to plan and everything else, because planning your meals not only gives you an awareness of your salt, but it gives you control of how. Yes, I did, big brother. Run me my red check or my red Fago. Thank you. If you know, you know. Meal planning gives you control over how much salt you're eating, as well as you get to plan out your snacks and everything else. And I want you to also understand, if you're working from home, you can still meal plan. Because I do. And that's something that I had to do, because I looked at my budget and DoorDash was showing up at my house a little too much. And then when I cut back on DoorDash, I was surprised that I had all this extra money. Then I realized I wasn't DoorDashing and I work from home. I still hadn't figured out how I work from home, and I still don't know how to take the chicken out the freezer. And so I truly want to apologize to my mama right now on all the days I didn't take the chicken out. I'm sorry, because I understand firsthand your frustration, because I can't figure out how I can't walk from here to over there to take the chicken out the freezer. So, Mama, I'm sorry. I, because I understand your frustration now to not come home and not see that chicken thawed out. Mama, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Another part, know all your options. Chips are not the only way to satisfy your sweet tooth. Some options that you can consider: sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, low sodium nuts or pretzels. Something else that I've discovered is hummus, which are garbanzo beans. Um, Thank you, Mom. I appreciate it, because it's been hard for your girl, because I don't thaw the chicken out and I work from home, so I eat a lot of sandwiches. So know your options. That try some hummus or some pretzel thins. Um, I've never tried pumpkin seeds, but I can speak to sunflower seeds because I'm in the South. Sunflower, sunflower seeds. Try other things. Be open to trying other things. Recognize your hunger cues versus your craving. So sometimes you have to ask yourself, am I hungry or am I craving? Hunger makes us grab the salty option when we would have been satisfied with something else, like a protein bar, a shake, yogurt, fruit. So recognize, is this a space where I'm bored? And when you say bored, you just ate something like 30 minutes ago. Or am I legitimately hungry? Next, stay hydrated. Having a drink with your salty snacks can prevent overindulgence. And when I say drink, I mean water. 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 Have some water. remain hydrated. Glass, take it easy. Often it's easier to decrease your salt intake over time because your taste buds will change. One thing I did notice firsthand in my wellness journey is that my palate's changed. And it took a while for me to adjust to the new palate change because of things that I would crave and pursue in the past, I didn't want anymore. And that's a sign of healing. And I'm not just talking about food. That when you're healing and you start changing, the things that you desired in the past are no longer things that will satisfy you in the future. So, and the reason why is because your taste buds slough off and regenerate over weeks. As you consume less salt, they become less tolerant of its flavor, which is why when you've been on your wellness journey over time and you expand your palate and discover different things, you notice immediately that the things that you used to enjoy in the past, you don't enjoy as much. And so now because I don't drink sodas, maybe a few times a year, once a month at best, um, I don't like them anymore. I have no where at one point you would always see me with a Coca-Cola in my hand or a Coca-Cola for breakfast or lunch. I don't drink them anymore because my palate changed. There are certain foods that I would always eat in the past that I don't want anymore because my palate has changed. And that is a sign of growth. That is a sign of you maturing in your healing journey. And so what tends to happen is that because we're not comfortable with where we are in our healing journey, we have a tendency to go back and try to go back and pick up those things that no longer serve us. And I'm not just talking about food. A lot of things that fall in your wellness journey, your physical journey, parallels in all your other parts of your life pie. So if you're in a space where you've gone too far from where you used to be and you're not quite at that next level, don't give up. Your taste buds are changing and they're sloughing off and they're regenerating. So the things that you used to want to crave, they're no longer in your purview because you've become less tolerant of its flavor. Now that is all that I had because in your scheme of craving salt, there are things that again, secondary that we have to address the primary. And the primaries are boredom, lack of sleep, dehydration, stress, and a myriad of other problems. There's like 15, but I had to pick the top five and run with it. There are myriad of other problems that you may not always be aware of. So it is the goal of every week to equip you with the tools to recognize this may be a trigger to me and I need to solve it. As always, thank y'all so much for joining me. We're having a segment next week, and then a week after that is Mother's Day. And you know, I got to go see my mama. I got to be loved on by my mama and my family. But next week, I will be here. Have an amazing week. Thank you as always. Thank you for following me. Thank you supporting me. Thank you for sharing the page with everyone. I am beyond grateful that you all do that for me. So thank you for your support. Don't make me sing the song. There's no me without you. I just did spoken word because really there's no me without you. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for your prayers. I am just thankful for everyone that has joined me and supported me. You all just don't know how grateful I am for all of you. And so, with that being said, have an amazing week, and I will see y'all next week. Bye, y'all.